And this is Rebalancing the Economy, the Future Role of the Service Industries. My name is Don Mackenzie, and I'm leader of Harrogate Borough Council. I represent also the districts of Selby and Craven on the Leeds City region. Those three districts form the northern half of the Leeds City region. We're on the northern fringe of the city region, but certainly speaking as far as Harrogate is concerned, we feel very much part of the Leeds City region, and we recognise that what is good for Leeds and the city region is good for Harrogate and our residents. So very committed members of the Leeds City region. I'm not only leader of Harrogate Borough Council, but my day job is I'm a self-employed exporter of UK products to various parts of the world. So if you like, I play my part in bridging the gap between the public and the private sectors. As far as the service industries are concerned, it is, of course, a very important sector for Harrogate. Harrogate is one of the country's foremost venues for the conference and exhibition industry, and indeed the business and the leisure visitor is extremely important to the Harrogate economy. The global recession from which we are just starting to emerge has brought about a debate across the developed world, namely that of whether the services industry has become too dominant at the expense of the manufacturing industry, which after all was what the UK used to be best at. And today we will look at this debate and look at the particular subsectors that thrive in the Leeds City region, considering the challenges which face them and the way in which the local enterprise partnership can unlock the barriers to their growth. I'd like to introduce the panelists, if I may. We have with us today, starting from farthest away from me, we have Jane Fowler, who's the Director of Munro Connections. Next, we have Deepak Jayaraman, Head of Office for Corporate Engagement at Goldman Sachs. Next to him, we have Steve McKevitt, Chairman of Golden and a board member of the Leeds City Region Employment and Skills Board. Next to him, we have Stephen Kennedy, Chief Operating Officer of CPP Group PLC and a board member of this LEP board. And finally, Kirsten England, Chief Executive of the City of York Council. And they're all very welcome. And in view of the fact that we are running a little late, I'm going to try and engage as many questions from the floor as possible this afternoon. But a bit of background, first of all. There are over 1 million employees in services in the Leeds City region, the third biggest LEP in England. So we have roughly 84% of all employees in this region who work in the services industry. And during the course of the 10 years up to 2008, the percentage increase in jobs in the services sector was something like 48%. And there were also rapid increases in education and public administration, largely, of course, in central and local government. And during the course of the recession, the services have weathered the recession better than other sectors. But what are the prospects for growth and recovery for the services industry? Well, we are expecting a 12% growth in GVA between 2009 and 15, but very little job creation. The Leeds City region specializes in banking, building societies, and insurance. But banking and insurance are certainly expected to grow much more slowly, and public administration is expected to shrink sharply over the next few years, with smaller job losses for health and education. So the challenge facing us is how do we help such a wide range of service industries with vastly differing markets and skills to innovate and prosper in the context of today's slow economic growth and falling public spending. And as a leader of a public authority, I can tell you It is reducing very rapidly. I'll head over towards the panel, if I may. Join you on the sofa. Maybe I can start with yourself, Stephen Kennedy. What has been your experience of the downturn, and what do you think the principal challenges are which face your sector?
I mean, we have an international business, and I think we've heard a lot about exporting for manufacturing. But if my numbers are right, 85% of the... 84%. So the biggest and easiest way to get very quick growth, because you can't just create lots of new manufacturing businesses, and in fact, in some of our cities, we don't have the space to do that, is to get those services businesses exporting their knowledge, their services internationally. And our business, 5 years ago, 10% of its revenues were outside of the UK. Today it's 30%, and in 3 years' time, it'll be 50%. And in 5 years' time, it will be 70% of our revenues outside the UK. It is a two-speed economy. You've heard those words from the guy from OECD. And why would you want to play in the slow lane? The slow lane, whether we like it or not, is in the EU, is in the UK. That's not to say that there isn't opportunities to grow services in the UK, but the fastest way for this region, with 85% of its employees in the services sector, to really get rapid growth for services, is to really start believing that they can deal with the same opportunities that the high-end engineering, high-end manufacturing have taken internationally and globally, and believe that that knowledge capital can be taken and exported successfully. And our experience is that we have got an advantage. When we go internationally with services, we're better at it. So let's take advantage of that.
Thank you. Maybe the same question to you, Kirsten, coming from the public sector. Your experience with the downturn, and what do you think are the principal challenges facing your sector?
Okay, well, as you know, Don, all too clearly, it's a bit different from Stephen's business in that I don't have customers who walk in with pound notes in their hand to purchase goods and services. In fact, if I did, we'd be floating on the stock market, because in terms of demand for the services which we provide, they've never been higher. And my particular city is growing as faster than anywhere else in the United Kingdom other than Milton Keynes. And we also have a demographic shift, which means there are more older people in our population living longer, want more choice in later life. So that's putting huge pressure into the system, actually demand for our services. But clearly they don't walk in with cash in their hands. And I absolutely accept the premise that there needs to be a rebalancing between the public and the private. And as we know, that's led to, for most of local government, a 25% reduction over the next 4 years in our revenue funding. And for my particular city, that's £50 million I have to save on an annual basis from the running cost of the council. It's a quarter of our operation. Our experience is actually what's underlying this is a much deeper and more profound question about the tax burden that people are prepared to bear to create the kind of world they want to live in. And also a question about what are individuals and communities prepared now to do for themselves, and that therefore that shifts cost out of our system. How much can we do in partnership together that also shifts costs out? And whether, in fact, for some of the services we provide, whether we are the best provider, and whether that could be the voluntary sector or the private sector. Where it's taking us to, Don, as you know, I think, is to be the leader of the delivery of public services in a place which might not be provided by the local authority, but we secure the delivery of those services at a cost that the taxpayer is prepared to take. We're not through this journey yet. I mean, we are potentially looking at another very tough economic moment. And so far, we've managed to secure balance on our budget through efficiencies, mergers, delayering, stripping out processes that are wasteful and bureaucratic. But we are coming to the point of looking at decommissioning and moving away from standards of service that I think the public still expect, even if they don't like the tax burden.
Thank you. Jane, I think you manage a diverse SME client portfolio. Could I put the same question to you?
Yes, indeed. It's a very interesting time at the moment because we work primarily with owner-managed businesses. You know, we've heard that it's something like 1.2 million of all UK businesses are the only ones that actually employ anybody if it's only themselves as a sole trader. What I think we've found in terms of the downturn is that any business providing services, business services to the SME sector that had any kind of dependence on public sector finance has really felt that quite significantly. And it's a flawed model because it's not sustainable, so they've really had to rethink where they position themselves. In terms of the client base, the SMEs, quite rightly, every business has battened down the hatches and there is no spend unless it absolutely has to be there, and the return on that spend investment is very clear. So therefore the market has contracted quite significantly. So the challenge that I see going forward is for the small business providing a business service is to really hone what it is that they deliver, what is their value proposition, if you will, so that it's a clearer message to the potential user of those services.
Thank you. Deepak, you have wide experience with Goldman Sachs. What are your views? Do you think there is currently an imbalance between the service industries and industry in general?
Well, I can comment on it from what we're seeing here in Leeds. For those of you who don't know, we run a business support program here that we piloted a year ago called 10,000 Small Businesses in partnership with the Leeds University Business School. It's been a great program. We've learned a lot about supporting small businesses here in the region. And, I can tell you that over 50% of our participants, we've had 50 to date. We've just recruited another 30. Over 50% are service businesses. Picking up on your point, I think that what we're trying to do is to train them and get them to hone that message, to get them to be a little more clearer in how they articulate their value proposition, and it's working. I think what's fascinating, at least from our perspective, I'm not sure imbalance is the right way to think about it. I think it's just reality. It is what it is. Service businesses we are in a knowledge economy, and service businesses are agents of that knowledge exchange. And if we can get them sharper and quicker and better, then they provide services. They will provide and fill gaps to others to all market actors who should be focusing on their core competencies and not sort of worrying about things that they're not particularly good at. So I think that we need to be in a position to support them. I think our program is really doing a good job. They're really flourishing, the service businesses on our program, and we're seeing that not just here in Leeds but up in Manchester, indeed in our sister programs across in the US as well.